We're a little bit over time for this first rapid fire session. Is there anybody that wants to ask one quick question before I hand it over to Dr. Kadri? No burning questions. So all of the panel are here. They're going to be available at coffee breaks and over lunch. So I encourage you, if you'd like to have further conversation or have any questions, please take advantage of the fact that they're here and available to you. And we'll pass on to Dr. Kadri for the debate session.
Chers amis, bienvenue à tous. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Oxford debate. Presently, I would also like to thank the Honourable Joseph Knott and Mitchell Shannon for the invitation to chair this evening, or this morning's debate, rather. Now, I will invite you to please caffeinate yourselves as much as is required, because I will be asking you momentarily to A, read, and B, comprehend, and C, to vote on this particular resolution. Not an easy task for this early in the morning, I can assure you. So, to begin with, we'll start with the resolution, which reads, the resolution is, this House believes that there is no room in healthcare for partnerships between industry and academia or industry and healthcare providers. I would respectfully ask you to please vote now. Yes is one. If you are supportive of that, maybe just a show of hands, because I don't know if you've really denuded me today with the technology, Mitch. What's going on? All right. For those of you who support that resolution, this House believes that there is no room in healthcare for partnerships between industry and academia or industry and healthcare providers. Please raise your hands. Those of you who support it. Those of you who do not support it, please raise your hands now. Yes, and whatever that number is, we'll assess it at the end. Our two presenters are Andrew Senior and Jill Donoghue. Andrew will be speaking for the affirmative, and Jill will be speaking for the negative. I do have to say, despite their mild-mannered appearance, we had a number of, I would say, very aggressive phone calls and some chit-chat sessions. And I kid you not, a question was asked of the moderator what weapons were allowed, and we had to restrict it, nothing metallic. Andrew Senior is the founder and president of Target Pharma Marketing, and also a guest lecturer at Brock, McMaster, and York Universities, author of the book 101 Questions, Handbook for Opportunities in Pharmaceutical Marketing. And both, of course, they're both very well known to this podium. Jill Donoghue is a speaker and a change consultant for pharma at Accelerate, author of the book Persuasion Prescription, How to Influence Ethically, as well as the founder and chair of Bricks and Books, a very worthy charity and leadership development. So with that, I would invite Andrew Senior to please come forward. 3 minutes, and then 90-second rebuttals each, and then a simulated vote towards the end. Andrew.
Thank you, Dr. Kadri. There's no longer room in healthcare for the traditional partnership between either industry and academia or industry and healthcare practitioners, because this relationship is failing. Unlike all failing relationships, there are three characteristics. We have mistrust between the parties. We have less time spent together. And when things get really bad, you get a restraining order. And we've got all three of these right now between pharmaceuticals and our healthcare practitioners. Mistrust. We've lied to our customers. And we can look at our shoes and mutter and say, well, I didn't lie. It must have been somebody else. But there were $12 billion of fines from the FDA in the years 1999 to 2009. In 2009 alone, there was 200 investigations for alleged off-label violations. In May of 2010, the FDA set up a program called the Bad Ad Program so that they could identify misleading advertising. It was 328 reports in its first year. And all of this is getting into the lay press. Is there any wonder the physicians no longer trust our industry? Eventually, we end up spending a little less time together. The causes of that are a little different. But we ramped up our sales forces through the 1990s and 2000s. We went from about 50,000 reps to over 100,000 in North America. And the time that doctors spent with our reps dropped from 10 minutes to 2.5 minutes. The percentage of doctors that were no-see physicians in that time period doubled. There was a quote in the Chronicle of Healthcare Marketing in 2003 that said, if it wasn't for samples, 90% of physicians would restrict access to over 90% of the reps coming to see them, meaning that the doctors didn't value the rep any more than a UPS delivery man. Why is this happening? Well, if you send multiple reps to see the same doctor with the same drug, with the same message, the real message you're sending is, we think you're a moron. And they responded to us like any smart person would and said, I'd really rather not see you. Now, it could get worse, and it has got worse. We could end up with a restraining order where we can't have any contact with them. McMaster University was the first medical school in Canada to effectively have a restraining order against industry. In the United States, the American Medical Association made a similar recommendation in 2005. By 2007, the American Medical Students Association set up their own policy and program. They had every medical school in the States report into them what their policy was for interaction with industry. And then every medical school got a grade from A to F. You got an F if you had no policy restricting your interaction with industry. You got an A if you barred the door. No reps, no MSLs, no investment, no CME. Their doctors couldn't use your slide kits, nothing. In 2007, 2.5% of medical schools got an A. In 4 years, that's gone up to 1 in 5 medical schools get an A. We are essentially losing contact with an entire generation of physicians, and it's only a matter of time before the entire relationship breaks down. So there is no room for the traditional relationship between industry and healthcare practitioners because this relationship is in sad shape. You cannot have a partnership when the current relationship is characterized by mistrust, reluctance, and a restraining order. I know there's a silver lining to this cloud, and I'll invite Jill up to point that out for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kadri, and thank you, Mitch, for inviting me to come back and defend my title. Today, I'll assert that not only the resolution should be defeated, but also that partnerships between industry, academia, and healthcare professionals are more necessary than ever before. In preparing my remarks, I started thinking about how it came to be that this topic is even relevant. I was reminded of the iconic movie of the late 80s, Wall Street, when Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen, albeit a younger and less crazy version, portrayed the corruption of Wall Street. The pivotal scene comes when Michael Douglas's character, Gordon Gekko, delivers his "Greed is good" speech at a shareholders meeting. He makes the persuasive case that greed works, that self-interest is the most useful of corporate qualities. 25 years later, the publicly held belief is that Gordon Gekko is alive and well and was last seen running pharma companies. Much of the rhetoric that has been targeted at industry flows from the belief, rightly in some cases and wrongly in others, that we have been more concerned with shareholders than with patients. This is how we got into the crisis of trust we find ourselves in now, and how the resolution proposed today came to be. So what if we were to eliminate the partnerships between industry, academia, and healthcare professionals? The problem with that approach is that society expects relentless progress in healthcare, and industry provides an important piece of knowledge to the healthcare puzzle. Have you ever tried to complete a jigsaw puzzle only to find pieces missing? The solution is simply not possible without all the pieces. So are we ready as an industry to rectify the problem? I believe we are. As you are well aware, our old business model is broken. A perfect storm has been brewing. The patent cliff, our declining R&D productivity, and the balance of powers with payers have all contributed to shrinking companies and shrinking profits, making us more ready than ever to move away from our old approach. Moving forward, we need to gain back our trustworthiness by aligning our incentives. What if we were to go to healthcare professionals and academia and say, we're on the same team. My company only rewards me for improving patient outcomes. 2, instead of training our people to sell, teaching them how to influence ethically through partnerships to deliver better health outcomes. And 3, becoming more attuned to the challenges of patients, and bring all of our resources, our people, our collective knowledge, and our proven ingenuity, not just our drugs, to the common pursuit of solutions. If we are to conquer disease, we must regain the trust of our partners and redouble our efforts to build partnerships. This will leverage our collective curiosity, our collective intelligence, and our collective creativity against the elimination of disease and optimization of health.
Thanks very much, Jill. Thanks for that precision timing and also for the adherence to the weapons ban. And we have two 90-second rebuttals from Andrew and Jill.
Thank you. As I suspected, we may end up in violent agreement, so the weapons ban was not necessary. It was the element of the proposition that it's the traditional component that is really the problem. Our traditional relationship with physicians, unfortunately, was based on greed. It was trying to get more share of voice, trying to get more market share. And I think if we start moving into a model where we put the patients first, that we can have some common ground with our partnerships with physicians and academia. There are some examples of this. There's the Partnership for Diabetes Prevention, otherwise known as D-, which is the goal of this program is to prevent diabetes and to take people that have early stage diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and reverse it through diet and exercise. But some of you may have seen the stats, that if you could reverse diabetes, you would come up with enough money to pay for the entire Ontario health drug budget. So partnerships like this are a true win-win for academia, for the government, the payers, for the pharmaceutical company that puts their name behind a program like that. And the ultimate person who benefits is the patient who never gets diabetes in the first place. So I agree that we need to move on away from the traditional relationships and start thinking of ways that we can partner truly for the benefit of the patient. Thank you.
Although the topic of this debate has been the source of much consternation, I believe that it represents the largest opportunity that has ever existed to redefine just how we create, not just how we create value, but also how we serve. While it is true that we're in a crisis of trust, and we have been and are being pushed away from the table for fear of bias, the right answer is not to run away and bury our heads, but to take a look at what we can do differently and better. If we are only to serve the shareholder, then people are right to put barriers against us. What changes the game, however, is that we have recognized, or are recognizing, that if we don't serve patients as our primary customer, we don't have a common ground with healthcare professionals and academics, and we don't have a sustainable business model. There is no choice. We must partner. How can you create and disseminate knowledge and solutions to complex problems without talking, without working together? We should stop debating whether or not we should work together and start focusing on how we can partner to a greater extent. I submit we must maintain our tireless commitment to improving the lives of people in Canada and around the world and focus on patients through collaborative partnerships.
Thanks very much to Andrew Sr. and Jill Donoghue for your remarks, and I would now invite you to have a look at hopefully the correct resolution projected on screen. No. Okay. Well, this is the generic model, I suppose. But in any case, I would now invite you to please vote. Once again, 1 is yes, 2 is nay, and the resolution is not that, but here forthcoming. This House believes that there is no room in healthcare for partnerships between industry and academia or industry and healthcare providers. Please vote now. I think from what I can determine that Andrew has actually, if I'm correct, Mitch, has actually swayed some of the audience. So I will have to declare that the title of Chief Oxford Debater is now Andrew Sr. If there are any questions, or we can move right to the next session, Mitch, as you advise. So I invite now the Honourable Mitchell Shannon, as you know, one of our co-hosts and the founder and CEO of the Chronicle Group of Companies. Merci beaucoup.